determine the vertex and the axis symmetry, so that means we want to put it in vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. So I need a perfect square trinomial in order to write this squared, right? But we can see that we have a is 3, so we need to divide everything by 3. So y over 3 equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. And is there a number of times by itself that gets me 5/3 but adds a perfect square trinomial? Nope, so I need a square. So I need to move this over. 5/3 is not going to work. So we subtract over because it's positive. Okay. And then I need to be the sides to be the same, and the equals -4. So that'd be -2 and -2. That means the area would be 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And now I need a common denominator over here. That'd be times by 3. That'd be 12/3. If you want to do decimal, you can. So 12/3 minus 5/3 is 9/3. Y over 3, and it's a positive 9/3. Then this can factor to x minus 2 times x minus 2, because -2 times -2 is 4, and minus 2 is -4. And I can write my quantity squared, which that's what I'm after. All right. And now I need to just solve for y. So here I can multiply both sides by 3. Distribute that 3 to both of those. That means those 3's would cancel, and I get y plus 9. Oh, that's actually 7, not a 9. So some of you already recognize that. So 7, 3x minus 2, quantity squared. Subtract that over, and we get y equals 3 times the quantity x minus 2, quantity squared, minus 7. Now, what would change if I would, my vertex here would be what minus 2 is 0. That's a positive 2. And that means my axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Now, if I would get my y value, that's -7. So what if I would change the equation to the quantity x plus 2? How would that change from the quantity x minus 2? How would that change my vertex or my axis of symmetry change? Think about that. Okay, example number 2. We have firework going up. So it's a projectile that's launched in the air, and we want to figure out when its height is reaching its max, the vertex, and the axis of symmetry, how long it takes to reach its max. So we're going to use this equation for height. And we're talking about feet per second, so that one is -16t squared plus v sub 0, our initial velocity, when the firework takes off. And t stands for time, how long. And then h sub 0, from what height does it take off from. So it takes off from 1 foot, so that's our h sub 0. And then our initial velocity, v sub 0, is 128. So I enter those in to my height equation, launching a projectile. If I was doing meters per second, then I would do -4.9 t squared, and all the rest is the same. But since I'm doing feet per second, I'm going to use -16. T, and then my initial height is 1. So basically I'm solving this equation, and I want to put it in vertex form because I want to find my vertex, right? So again, a is -16, so that means I need to divide everything by my a, which, what is that? 8, I think. Okay, and this one as well. So h of t -16 equals t squared minus 8t minus 1/16. And what times itself? Can I find a number times itself that is 1/16 but adds to -8? -16 doesn't work, so I need to move that over. So since negative, I'm going to add it. Leave a space here on this side. I probably should have left a space here on this side. So again, I need a square, right? So I'm taking -8 and I'm splitting it into 2, which gives me -4. So that means the area of this would be 16. So that's why I'm adding 16 to this side, and I have to add it to this side, which is 256 over 16. So then I have common denominators. And then I can add those and I get 257 over 16. That's a positive h of t over negative 16 equals, now I can factor this, right? What times itself is 16 but adds to negative 4, that'd be negative 4 and negative 4. And now since they're the same, I can do a quantity squared. Oh, geez, t minus 4 quantity squared. Now I can just multiply both sides by negative 16. So I get h of t, this turns to negative 257. And this is negative 16. Which you can see my a from this is negative 16. It's the same a from the beginning. That should always happen. And then I want to add 257 to both sides. So you got to think about, what does this t represent? So when I find my vertex, t minus 4 quantity squared. So what minus 4 is 0? That'd be positive 4. So there's my axis of symmetry. What does that mean? And then here's my y value of my vertex. So x value, y value. What does that y value mean? Talking about a firework launching from 1 foot, explodes, it sparks off. So what does this 4 seconds mean? Well, it means that it takes about 4 seconds to reach its peak, right? Which is probably where it's going to explode. Maybe it explodes at its peak. Maybe it comes down a little bit and then explodes, right? But it's going to take 4 seconds to get to its peak, and it's going to be 257 feet. Now think about this. If it goes up and at 3 seconds, it reaches 241, then it goes to its peak at 257 in 4 seconds. What's it going to be at 5 seconds? Think about that. Okay, so that's the rest of lesson 1.5.